So on April 10, brethren, it was the day that marked the first day of the sacred year. And then on the 14th day of the month, it would be the Passover. So have you ever wondered, brethren, what are the events that happened between the first day of the sacred year and the Passover, which is the 14th day? Why does it have to be that we have to wait for 14 days for us to keep the Passover? Have you ever asked yourself about that, brethren? Well, if you go back thousands of years ago, by the time of Moses, Pharaoh, and the Egyptians, you would know, if you're going to read the Bible, the days between the first day of the first day of the month and the 14th day, the time frame within that was the time when God sent the 10 plagues. So during that time, it was very, just like now, it would be a very challenging time, not just for the Israelites, but also for the Egyptians. So even then, during that time, before we have the new covenant, when the nation of Israel was formed, we already have a lot of problems, a lot of trials. Now, if you remember, I will not go through the Bible to read the whole story, but if you remember, brethren, when Yahweh sent Moses to the Pharaoh, the first response of the Pharaoh was that, "Who is this Yahweh? Who is this Lord you are talking about? I don't know this God." And because Pharaoh was very frustrated, irritated of what Moses did, he added more problems, or added more burden to the Israelites. So you just can imagine that before things would get better, things would get worse first. So Moses was thinking, what is happening here? I thought you were going to deliver the Israelites. And yet, now look at what happened. Instead of Pharaoh letting go of his people, the Pharaoh is adding more burden. Now, this is a very huge topic, but in the Bible, there's one summary that I would like to read, and I would like to focus our attention here in this summary verse. Okay? So, we don't have to go through everything. I just like us to look into this particular passage. It is found in Exodus 4, verse 21. So, this is our focus verse this afternoon. Exodus 4:21. Let me read. And Yahweh said to Moses, "When you go back to Egypt, see that you do all these wonders before Pharaoh, which I have put in your hand. But I will harden his heart so that he will not let the people go." Okay, so this is the summary statement that I want us to focus. And in this summary, I would like us to take note of 3 keywords. Just 3 keywords. The Egypt, Pharaoh, and heart. Egypt, Pharaoh, and heart. So, let's go to the first keyword. The word Egypt. Now, if you don't have an idea of what Egypt is, it is referring to the land of Egypt where the Egyptian Empire is located. And you know what, brethren? The ancient Egypt, or the Egyptian Empire, is one of the most enduring empires in the world that has been set on this planet. Did you know how many years that they have this empire has occupied or has existed? Do you know how many years? Not just 1,000 years, not just 2,000 years, but 3,000 years. This empire has existed. So it is one of the most powerful nations on the face of the planet, especially during the time of Moses. So you can just imagine, here is Egypt, and its leader is Pharaoh, making Pharaoh the most powerful and most influential person during that time. So Moses knew this very fact. That's why when Yahweh has told him that, "Oh Moses, I want you to go back to Egypt," Moses knew that this is not an easy task. He's up against the most powerful person in the world. And sino ba naman siya? Who am I? Sino ba naman ako to go to his place, and then I would ask him directly that, "Let my people go." So you could just understand the first response of Moses when he was asked by Yahweh to go to Egypt. And the next keyword here is Pharaoh. Now this is very interesting, brethren, because I did a little research and there are things that I just learned for the first time. You see, Pharaoh is not just simply a ruler during that time. Pharaoh, the Egyptians see Pharaoh as a god in the flesh. They see him as a god. And what's so interesting here, brethren, is that he is considered to be the son of Ra. Okay, I will just show you how amazing this is. How the devil, Satan, has made a counterfeit religion in this land. Let me show you. So, we have here Pharaoh, the son of Ra. Okay? And then he's also considered to be the reincarnation of Horus. Now, this is very significant. Ra is considered in Egyptian mythology as the most powerful god in their land. You know what? The Egyptians worship more than 2,000 gods. And chief among these gods is Ra. He is considered to be the father of creation. Grabe, no? He is considered to be the father of creation. And who was his son? It's the Pharaoh. And then I mentioned about Horus. Horus is the god with the falcon head. If you have seen the pictures of Egyptian gods, he has the falcon head. The falcon in Egyptian mythology represents kingship. And then if you look into the right eye of Horus, it is the sun, which represents power. And in this left eye is the moon, which represents healing. So, for the Egyptians, they see their Pharaoh as God. And you know what? The Egyptians worship Pharaoh to the extent that they believe that their eternal destiny depends on Pharaoh. That's why they don't try to rebel, to go against Pharaoh, because they knew that he is God in the flesh. Now, can you see how Satan copied the true form of worship and then duplicated it in Egypt? We have Ra, the father of creation, which is considered to be God the Father. And then we have the Pharaoh as Yahshua, as the son of Ra. So you can just see how Satan made a counterfeit religion out of this empire. And have you ever wondered, brethren, that if you read the Bible, you don't see the writer of Genesis did not specifically name the Pharaoh. It just said Pharaoh, and with a capital letter P. You know why? Because Pharaoh here is actually a representation of a line of kings who represents the epitome of wickedness, selfishness, and rebellion against God. Some scholars mention that the Pharaoh who killed the male child in the start of Exodus is a different Pharaoh with the one that Moses would later encounter. So he was saying that this is a representation of the kings who go against Yahweh. So you could just see that this is why that some scholars would say that there's a big reason why Yahweh has to defeat this Pharaoh. Because Pharaoh is the epitome of the very fact of wickedness, rebellion, and selfishness. Okay? So let's go here. The next word here is the heart. It says here in verse in Exodus 4 that Yahweh will harden his heart. Now, a lot of people think of this as, doesn't Pharaoh have free will? Isn't it unfair to Pharaoh that God hardened his heart? That he doesn't have anything, he cannot do anything about it, that he has to follow what God said? And so, a lot of people were saying that, oh, you mentioned that we have free will, and yet look at Pharaoh. He doesn't have anything to do with this, that God has hardened his heart. So, have you ever asked yourself, brethren, why did God harden his heart? Isn't it unfair? Isn't it unjust for God to harden Pharaoh's heart? Well, we have to go to Exodus 8:15. Let's go there, brethren. Exodus 8:15 says, "But when Pharaoh saw that there was relief, he hardened his heart and did not heed them, as Yahweh had said." So we could see here, brethren, that yes, it is true that Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart, but it is actually, there are times that it was Pharaoh himself who is hardening his heart. You see, brethren, God already knew the nature of Pharaoh. He knew his inclination, he knew his wickedness, and he knew his rebellious heart already. That's why when Yahweh hardened his heart, it is his just using the inclination of Pharaoh. And you see, brethren, you cannot say that Pharaoh here is innocent. Remember, Pharaoh is the one who ordered for the babies to be killed. And he is also the one who enslaved an entire nation just to build this empire. So, you could see here, brethren, that although God hardened his heart, this is not actually against the will of Pharaoh, because he already has the inclination to do wicked things. So that is the reason, or that is the explanation why Satan, or we could see here that Yahweh is justified in hardening God in Pharaoh's heart. Now, this is very important, brethren. This is the main reason why God hardened his heart. Let's go to Romans 9:17 to 18. Romans 9:17, 18. This is the real, or the most accurate answer why God hardened his heart. He says here, "For this very purpose I have raised you up," or let's go, "For the scripture says to Pharaoh, for this very purpose I have raised you up, that I may show my power in you, and that my name may be declared in all the earth. Therefore, he has mercy on whom he wills, and whom he wills, he hardens." Did you see that, brethren? Why did God harden Pharaoh's heart? It is for him to show his power. Now remember, going back to the 10 plagues, brethren, what happened? Every plague that Yahweh sent to the land of Egypt is a strike to the gods of Egypt. Those are actually the representations of the gods of Egypt. And every strike that he does is actually showing his power over these gods. Let me just give you an example. For example, the plague of blood, the river turning to blood, this was against Hapi and Osiris, which are the Egyptian gods of the Nile. The plague of frogs was against Heket, the Egyptian god of fertility. The plague of dead livestock was against Apis, the god of livestock. The plague of darkness was against Ra, the god of the sun. And you know what, brethren? By striking the ultimate god of Egypt, he has blown the ultimate strike to all other smaller gods. That's why when he made the day dark, and also he killed the firstborn son of Egypt, of the Egyptians, it was a living testimony of God's sovereignty over the gods of Egypt. So this tells us, brethren, that during the time between the first day of the first month to the day of Passover, isn't it interesting, brethren, that these things happened? This is telling us, brethren, that God is powerful, because we need encouragement during this time. Because as you know, brethren, that as we approach the fall festival or the spring festival, there are just a lot of things that would happen. Trials have been intensified. And by looking into the story of the 10 plagues and also the story of Moses and everyone else here, brethren, we are reminded of God's sovereignty over these things. Yes, brethren, there are a lot of trials and difficulties that would try to hinder us, to discourage us, to make us hopeless. And yet, what we can do is just look back thousands of years ago. If God was able to defeat Pharaoh and also Satan, then he could also defeat Satan today. And God was telling us that whatever we are going through right now, we can overcome it because He is with us, and He will strengthen us, and He will uphold us, and He will guide us. Thus, brethren, let us stay faithful to our calling. Just like thousands of years ago, brethren, even though we go through a lot of problems, just like the Israelites, time will come that we will also find or see our spiritual promised land. So when you are facing your spiritual Egypt, the Pharaoh, the spiritual Red Sea, when you don't see any solution to your problem, when all things seem to be, you are in your breaking point in life, I want you to remember this verse, which is also my final verse for you. Exodus 14 verse 13, brethren. Do not be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh. Hello friends, I need your help. If this is not too much to ask, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. This should only take 5 seconds of your time. But this simple gesture would help me reach more people and share the Word of God with the rest of the world. You have the power to make a difference in people's lives.